Welcome to In the Middle, where we find common ground through real talk. I'm George Middleton. Today's guest is someone who's been both a creative partner and a deep thinker in this ongoing journey of mine called racial deconstruction. Evelyn Rai Blunt. Evelyn is an accomplished administrative professional and digital marketer at Martin University. But beyond her professional life, she's been a powerful voice with me in exploring how race, identity, and culture shape our daily experiences. She has been on this journey of mine since almost the beginning, through many conversations, through many of the posts and other podcasts and written materials that I've developed and put together. She has been part of that process through many late night discussions deep into the night where she would challenge me in a significant way on my thinking process, which really served to help refine the work I'm doing. Oh, this is in the middle history.
Yes.
On 2 points. I got the one and only Evelyn Rai Blunt. And you are my first interview for In the Middle.
Oh my God. That's very honorable. I think all the people that you know, all the people that you associate with, this is an honor. Speaks volumes.
And I was just thinking, you've been with me on this journey for almost since the beginning. All our late discussions and the way you used to get on my nerves by challenging me on every daggone time.
So, I didn't listen. The sweetest part, I didn't even know I was doing that. Right, I was just asking questions.
I'm the one supposed to be asking questions. But yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to doing this one with you. It's special because you really have the inside scoop on everything I've been trying to do. So let me ask.
I just encourage you to, George, to continue. It's never fun being the forerunner of a vision or a purpose or a cause. You know, you gotta plow ground. You definitely have to have your head like flint to go into that hard and soil and break it up. But don't quit. Don't give up. And train up others behind you so that the vision and mission is never lost.
I felt that. So let's take it back from the beginning. You know, when you saw the kind of work that I was doing, the platform I was building, what was your honest or your first memory of your reaction to it? What did you think about it? What was it that resonated with you, if anything?
The thing that resonated with me was the in your face, undeniable truths of questions you were asking or proposing, and I had to stop and think. You were asking from a perspective that I didn't really considered. But I will also say it was during the time when I was questioning a lot of what I had just grown up to believe and things that I had just regurgitated, not because I had researched anything or a working knowledge of it. It was just a part of the fabric of what I believed. And so you made me think. You gave me questions that made me think.
Explain how you initially thought about race, if you have a conscious memory of it. How did you see race prior to being exposed to my platform?
How did I see race prior to being exposed to your platform? I saw race as social ill, something that, growing up, my parents would say, what goes on in my house stays in my house. And we never really got to talk about the things that were necessarily unhealthy in our home. And I saw race like that. It was something that, growing up in America, we knew as people of color, as Black people, I use that term loosely now that I've had your teaching, so-called Black people, we were not allowed to go certain places. Remember being very young in my grandparents' home, black and white television, and Nat King Cole was on the television, and my grandmother just absolutely adored Nat King Cole. And I remember my grandparents' comments and how proud they were that he was representing the colors in a very good fashion, So race for me was just something that we understood and we lived with. And it was just the way that it was. We understood there were people that had died for the cause, like Dr. Martin Luther King, Edgar I never say that man's name right.
Medgar Evers.
But thank you. And so we understood that there were causes. I began to learn about our great auntie mother, Fannie Lou Hamer. So the struggle was there, but it just never really was talked about. And so race for me was just something we had to deal with and live with. So I grew up.
So it wasn't necessarily an empowering, consciously empowering concept to you.
No, not in my family construct. No. Mm-mm.
There's this work by a previous early psychologist, William Cross, Dr. William Cross, who came up with what's called the 5 stages of racial identity development. And the first stage is the pre-encounter stage, where the dominant culture, which in America we call white, surrounds the child, and she begins to absorb those messages about the minority group, and often that is the first time where people who identify as Black actually realize that they're Black. There's an early childhood experience that made you realize you were different from the friends that you were playing with that didn't necessarily look like you, or the friends you went to school with that didn't look like you. Do you have a memory of when you first realized that there was something different about you? Can you tell?
Oh, good. That's a great question. Yes. We grew up in the era of busing. When busing first took off in the United States, we were legislated to leave our neighborhood schools and go get on the bus at dark 30 in the morning and ride to a suburb school where they did not want us. I grew up hearing things like, for instance, my mother was the first Black, so-called Black woman to work at one of the more prestigious salons in downtown Indianapolis. You would hear oftentimes like the first Black to do this and the first Black to do that. So my childhood was colored and peppered with my first quote unquote best girlfriend was a little white girl named Nancy Luke. And we had a little brother, and she was from a single home, and we bonded with each other. But I knew, because her hair was straight, mine was kinky, they stood in awe of me as I stood in awe of them. But when I spent the night at their home, I found out that we really weren't that different, And that was something that I always cherished, because there was nothing political about our relationship or racial. It's just that we genuinely camaraderie and friendship. So yes, she was my first quote unquote white friend, best friend. You see what I'm saying? And it was in those connotations that I grew up. Like, I didn't know that was going to be, check this out. I didn't know that relationship would be the formation of my life, where I would be in spaces where I would be one of two blacks, if not the only so-called black persons in the room. But my relationships started with me being, welcomed, unlike some others possibly.
Interesting. And so being the first, was that for you perceived as a positive thing, as a thing of pride, or how did you internalize that being the first as it pertained to your mother, and it seemed like it's kind of coming to your personal experiences?
Yeah. I guess there was initially, as a child, when you find yourself in certain situations or circumstances, you feel that you're worthy to be there, right? Now, I did not internalize it as, oh, I'm good enough. But so as a child, I felt this is really good because we like each other, right? I didn't internalize it as I'm worthy to be accepted, right? But I did understand it as this doesn't happen all the time, right? This was not the norm, but cannot say as a child that I felt it. So being in those spaces made me feel worthy. I already kind of felt that. It just felt good. It just felt like this is how it should be.
Speaking of being one of the first, you happen to work at a place that is considered one of the first, Martin University, an institution with a deep history of serving quote unquote underrepresented communities. How do you see, or do you see this concept of race? How does this discussion demonstrate itself in your work environment there at Martin University?
Oh, such a great question. What does it do? I was privileged in this community to live during the time of its founder, the Barnabas Harding and Sister Jane Schilling, and to have grown up with their presence in our community, to experience them fight for the right for higher education for working class people. It was such an honor, and I did not, as a child, of course, know the weight of it, but as I grew and became a student there myself, and now finding myself working there, when I think it was you that said every lie has an expiration date, but when you can see the vision of a soul come to manifestation and outlive and outlast amidst all of its struggles, Martin is still in the crossfires of America's refusal to honor and acknowledge and to support. But Martin has stood and is standing the test of time. It can go down its Hall of Fame and see the many politician, lay people, pastors, congresspeople. There's great heritage and history there. But there is one thing that I, will continue to be concerned about, and that is we will not let the legacy die, that we as a people, class people, one of the greatest foundations that we can build on is that one which has been laid, and that's the pride of education. We're intelligent people. And every day I get to walk through those halls, and what has been denied persisted and has been acknowledged around the world. We've got poets, we've got musicians. So, I mean, the history is just amazing. The vision that has lived, that's outlived the others.
And what would you attribute this continued resistance to what Martin stands for to?
I would contribute it to the truth that there are people who refuse to be defined by someone else's life. Just contributed to the persistence of people who understand that we are more than the color of skin. We are more than the designation that has been given. The ebbs and flows of this institution will continue as long as people refuse to be defined by that which has undermined their divine purpose.
This is just hearing you say that made me think of maybe a strange question. Is it possible, or do you see Martin potentially, in view of the work that I'm doing, is Martin perpetuating the very thing that is attacking it?
Is Martin perpetuating the very thing that...
And it's kind of an ill-formed question, but hearing what you're saying, because we're trying to address this racial dynamic. Is it possible that Martin is participating unknowingly in the perpetuation of this racial dynamic?
Well, I guess in the way the question is posed, many of our institutions are. Because it is the construct that we've all been made to survive in, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it is unlike any other institution that has to, so to speak, play the game. It's the board that we're on.
Yeah.
However, there are those that come through the institution and they have found, you're acquainted with the institution, you and yourself, the ways and platforms to address those root, causes and to ask those questions and to create, that template that will give people another perspective and opportunity to embrace truth that will set them free.
So in your work as not just a Martin, but I've definitely been a beneficiary of your expertise in marketing and communication. How does, in all of your work contexts, to include Martin, how does race consciously or unconsciously impact or influence the messages, how you form your communication, your marketing approaches? How do you see that play out in your area of expertise?
Well, thanks to your work and, being with you over the few years that I've come to learn this concept and precept, I like to call it precept, it has really made me more sensitive to my approach with marketing. Visuals, words, say picture paints 1,000 words. When people don't see themselves in a campaign, they automatically think it's not for them. You see? Mm-hmm. If people don't hear their voice in a campaign, they automatically think it's not for them. Now, the business world, which is McDonald's, has done a job of marketing to our community, as unhealthy as their food is, but they have done a fine job, to speak what I'm into, of marketing our community. And So when it comes to that aspect, it's very important that people of color seen and heard in the text as well as in the visual.
So are you aware? Do you are these conscious decisions, or is it just a natural for you? It's just a natural. Whatever your environment in, you just take on the visual aspects of that environment.
Well, it's a conscious decision. Now you're in marketing, right? So you know, I still have my clients' considerations, but oftentimes the consultation can guide them. But I would say it's becoming more. I don't have to think about it. It's becoming more normal, if you will. Mm-hmm. Because I think I am being more liberated in my understanding. And so those constructs don't hold me as they had in the past. But it is an intentional thing. I will have to say that. To go and look for images. I have to go and look for context. It's intentional. Becoming normal.
Now, this is an even stranger question. So, you know, you are working for, you're servicing your clients. Knowing and on this process of racial deconstruction, do you see opportunities where you can change the narrative of this whole idea of race? Do you see the opportunities of being able to influence the change of how people are seeing race through your work, or are you totally at the behest of your customers?
Honestly, it depends on the customer, but a lot of times people don't know what they want until you show them. So it's a very empowering position. Sometimes ignorance is just bliss because people just don't know, right?
Right.
And if you have the opportunity to expose them to a concept or a visual or an idea, if they're a conscious person, they can embrace what is undeniable, and that's just humanity. You know, being undeniably human is something that we should all aspire for. But then you have those, you know, who take on a whole different persona, and they just refuse to embrace that.
Right. Well said. Okay. Let's look more internal, more personal. Since our meeting and work, you know, beginning our journey and work together, we work together in so many different capacities. As it pertains to this work in racial deconstruction, has this had any impact or any influence on how you see yourself?
Most definitely. We've had conversations, extensive ones, and you challenge me to think about not only my racial constructs, but economic and religious constructs and as well. And because it is all impacted by this lie of racism. And I've had to really go inward. And it started a few years ago. You know, I think India Irie came out with her anthem about "I am not my hair." And my mother being a beautician and supporting her family through cosmetology. You know, hair was a big thing in my home, right? Because my mother was a beautician. But being liberated to say, I'm not going to put any relaxer in my hair anymore. That was the first. Growing my locks, that was another striving towards self-identity and making sure that I'm embracing my own self. How has it changed me? Just being confident in my own skin, loving the fact that, we also grew up during a time, George, where, you had to pass, what they call it, was the grocery bag. Yes, we have colorism in our communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, growing up as a little darky, I was a little chocolate brown girl, right? It was always the light skinned, wavy hair girls that the guys would just go after, right? And so there was some shame in being dark and your hair kinky. But I just recall my grandmother's doting on me, her making sure that I felt all of the love and the specialness. She had her sweet names for me. So yes, personally, I've had that journey, but I think I kind of always knew that I was worthy of love and acceptance, but there was just not that outward social construct outside of my family dynamics that would support that. And so I think as a woman now, even today, being a Black woman is such an honor, especially being a Black woman, so-called Black woman, a woman of color, who has birthed children. And I have embraced my femininity as well as a woman who can see how important it is to continue to encourage our daughters to not be identified by their hair or their clothes or their makeup, but that intrinsic beauty from within, that natural glow. And so that's another work that I'm doing in some other circles. But yes, I've had to deal with it myself. It's a long answer.
No, that was good. So often, because that's the most challenging part of my work here in racial deconstruction. The first layer is the identity that we have been indoctrinated into. We've been indoctrinated into these identities of body parts. Like you were talking about hair, and skin color is a body part. And so we've taken a physical aspect of ourselves. Well, we haven't, but we've been our social construct, or the history of our society, of our country, is practicing self-identity by how you look. And so, one of the biggest challenges is getting people to understand that the difference between what a cultural identity is and a racial identity is. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But would you mind sharing your understanding what the difference of a cultural identity from a racial identity is?
Sure. A cultural identity, basically, for me, is coming from your ethnic background, your cultural interpretation of the world around you. I have been blessed to go the world and see a few cultures. I've been to Ukraine. I've seen the Ukrainian culture. I've been to UK. I've seen the United Kingdom culture there in London. I've been to Jamaica and Puerto Rico. I've been to Africa 3 times. I've been to Israel twice. And when I do study antiquity and I do look in history, and because I've had these cultural experiences, there's food attached to it. There's music attached to it. Mm-hmm. There's customs attached to it. Mm-hmm. There are traditions attached to it. And so there's geographical attachments to it. If you come from Nigeria, you're a Nigerian. If you come from Liberia, you're a Liberian. Right. If you come from Ghana, and so there is no attachment when you're Black or white. Mm-hmm. those are colors, right?
Right.
And so we as a people, if we think about the so-called Black in America and in the diaspora, but especially here in America, or quote unquote Black culture prolificated the whole world, from music to our cuisine to our style of dress. When I get on YouTube and I see Asian people with their pants sagging, like, where did that come from? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. When I'm seeing them with do-rags on their heads and big boots on their feet, I'm like, where did that come from? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we have a culture, no doubt, but that is the difference between racial. Racial will define you in a status or a class. Racial will say to you that you can't drink from this water fountain because of the color of your skin. Mm-hmm. Racial will say that you're not allowed to be in this country club because of the color of your skin or because of your economics. Racial says you can't live in this area because, it's redlining, So to me, I hope I answered that. That's the difference between.
Yeah, I really appreciated it. I appreciated how you personalized that. It reminds me of a quote by Dr. Henrik Clark.
Yeah.
Who I just love this quote, and I always mess it up, but I'll paraphrase it. He says, as it pertains to skin color by identity, and he used the Black in this example. He said, Black tells you what you look like, but it doesn't tell you who you are. A man's identity is composed of his land, as you spoke of, his history, and his culture. Land, history, and culture. And so when I'm doing a lot of my workshops, and you've been on some of them, I'll ask the question, where are white people from? And they'll typically say Europe. And then my response is, nope, if you're from Europe, that makes you what?
European.
Then I ask, where are Black people from? Then they'll say Africa. And I'm like, no, if you're from Africa, that makes you what? And so, they do the logic in their mind. And that's the first challenge of this racial deconstruction, is getting people to see that there's a difference between saying I'm Black or I'm white versus I'm American, I'm German, I'm Latino. They're not the same. Even on the census forms, there's two blocks. There's a block for your racial identity if you decide to choose one, and there's a block for your cultural identity. They're not the same. And I think that is the most challenging part for people, because we've been ingrained and indoctrinated for so long to really believe that people are born white or born Black, and even more confusing, born half white and half Black. I mean, just think about it. These are non-scientific terms that can't be quantified through science, through DNA. No one is half Black or half white.
Right.
Literally, no one is of mixed race. It's just an irrational, non-quantifiable concept. But it has real life implications.
Yes, it does.
Let's move to music. There's another first. You we recorded together on a recent composition called "We're Moving On." You remember that, right?
Yes, I do.
I lost you there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, and that was fun. I mean, we recorded, we did a video. You
so
know,
fun.
Which was another first. That was my first video. You probably done all kinds of videos because you
really? I didn't know that was your first.
That was my first one. But you know, you are world renowned. You've been all over the world.
Stop it.
I was all excited because it was my little video, and you was just like, "Oh, ain't that cute?"
Oh, stop it. I go with the whole, listen, you know the story. I'm not even going to tell it, but the George Middleton story, I have a George Middleton story.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, so honored because you had been around the city and I had been hearing about this man and I didn't know, I had never met, and I went to a business network meeting and I'm seeing this very handsome, dapper man on this keyboard and he's just doing the thing and I'm thinking I gotta sing with this person, right? So at that time I was really shy still, didn't have that confidence. My brother was like, go on up there, give me your business card, and you took it very graciously, patted me on my head, sent me on my merry way. Then I had a couple of other occasions to do the same thing, and then I started kind of almost stalking you on social media and sent you a little shout out. Never heard anything, and then one day you were at an establishment, and my sister called me up, and she's like, "He's here," because they all knew how I felt about you, and I'm from the what was it, on the east side all the way to the west side, and just sat there in awe at you guys just playing it. You were so gracious. They were so insistent, and you invited me up to sing. And as it's history. We've been together.
Man,
it's magic.
Man, I remember that as if it was yesterday. That was very magical. Yeah, you came in there unexpected and tore that place up, girl. I'm like, what is going on? But yeah, so part of my motivation for writing "We're Moving On" was in a way to try to bring some type of creative attention to this concept. Music has such a powerful ability to influence and bring attention, and I love when we perform that together because you have a way of bringing out why that song exists, why we do that song. And so I just want to ask you, how do you feel that how can art, and especially music, reach people in this message that our intellectual dialogue can't, because we can cerebralize, we can rationalize, but sometimes there's a language that's more effective than all of that. How do you see art and music being useful in this initiative?
I see this music, this art form, very useful. Gil Scott Heron.
Yes.
Music had a miss. And
say that again.
Music has a soul and a consciousness. And unfortunately, a lot of that has been lost in our art because it's been commercialized. But moving on speaks to the heart and the soul. What has to, if humanity is going to right itself. And I think the gifts that we share can impact generations. I mean, if we have songs like White Christmas still singing and speaking today, how much more moving on? Do you know what I'm saying? How much more Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, makes me want to holler,
Wow.
We have the ability to impart the truth and the hope of what we know we can be, humanity, through this gift of music and art.
I just love how you put that. I always tease you because we do so many events together, and when most of the time we're in person. But when I watch you and listen to you, it literally seems like there's this force that's coming through you speaking, and I just felt that again in everything you just said. So we're gonna get ready to close this out, and for those who don't know, Evelyn is out here on the road, granting me her time and risking her life because we're having the first major snowfall in the city. And so I guess that's the theme of this interview today, of this show, is the show of firsts that keeps popping up. But as we close, what would you say to someone who is maybe interested in beginning this journey or just beginning his journey, who wants to understand race differently but doesn't know where to start?
I would say, with your heart, don't continue to ignore the truth to be comfortable with the lie. I would say, well, George Middleton, don't just say that. You've written several books, but this concept, perspective of truth to take root, I would encourage them to do their research in history, and be willing to be uncomfortable, to walk in truth after someone said you tell a lie long enough, but a lie has an expiration date, whereas truth is eternal. And I would just encourage people to come out of the matrix, to come out of that which has and caused bondage to humanity. No matter the ethnic diversity, we're still humans at the end of the day. So follow you, get your books, read your books, and then become not only a student, but become a teacher. We have generations that we need to impact.
We're in a really, really crazy time in this country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it for what I'm doing in the field of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are busy because the world literally feels like it's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a very spiritual person. You're a very strong person of faith. And even outside of that, just your natural countenance, you're powerful. You emit a sense of power. So I want to ask you, what with the craziness going on, what gives you hope in this moment when it feels like everyone is just so divided on every level?
Great question. Thank you. Most kind words. I will say it like this, George. It's like I know the producer. I know the writer of the script. I've been introduced and I've been made to understand the outcome. And some people say, well, you can't know. But here's the truth. We've come from somewhere and we're going to go to somewhere. And I don't think faith is something that you can religiously hold to. You have to go through the fight. And many people have different terms and languages for what grounds them. I have a grounding source in God, in Christ. That is something for me that my grandmothers, my aunties, and those who cried the tears gave to me. They taught me how to. They taught me the scriptures as a child. And so for me, there are some things that you just can't unknow once you know. And to be known of God and to be called his own and to accept that identity, first of all, that was created in the image and likeness of divinity, of someone divine who controls all that is happening. it's an exciting time. It's as disturbing as it is. It's an exciting time because you know that everything must change. Things have to come to the end of its season and cycle. This, what we're going, humanity has been here before, but we as a people have not experienced it. People 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And so it is our time now. And I used to sing growing up, be very sure your anchor holds and you grip the solid rocket. Now we've got all this other stuff out here, but I think the simplest answer, George, is something took a hold of me when I was a child, and I'm holding on to it.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for being one of my strongest supporters, one of my most significant agitators. I heard a sermon years ago about the agitator, and he said the washing machine is nothing without the agitator.
Hey, there you go. I like that.
I said that was powerful. And for being a collaborator, because we collaborate in so many fashions, and I just enjoy the process of creating with you. And for being a truth teller, and strong in your truth. As beautiful as you are, you can be awful scary when you standing 10 toes down.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness.
You are not the one. You are not the one. Now, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
Love it.
So I'm just grateful for your voice and your friendship. And thank you so much for giving me your time on this first interview of In the Middle.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm honored to be a friend and a collaborator with you. I want you to continue to do, as I said, you're a forerunner. But thank you. We thank you for generations to come for taking the courage to come outside of the comfort zone, to be unapologetic for the truth that was said. Appreciate you so much.
Amen. Thank you again, Evelyn. And to our listeners, thank you. Keep finding the middle ground. Keep asking the hard questions. And never stop listening. This is In the Middle with George Middleton. Until next time.